Testing, 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 testing. Okay, beautiful. Everything sounds good. All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I'm gonna start off this lesson by giving all praises and honor and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rahakadash. All right, double honors for the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and have taught me this word in truth and sincerity. Peace and mercy to the full left. All right, starting with 144,000 on down, and the rest of the whole full left. Okay, it's your fellow servant Amath of GMS Toronto coming at you with another live lesson. All right, and this live lesson is going to be on nanotechnology. Okay, nanotechnology, and yeah, I mean, it's simply that. Okay, well, let me just get right into it. Let me just get right into it. So I want to open up with this precept here, Luke 8 and 17. So Luke 8 and 17. Yeah, yeah, just get right to the point. Um, Luke 8 and 17 reads, For nothing is secret that, and this is in the King James, for nothing is secret that shall not be made manifest, neither anything hid that shall not be known and come abroad. Okay. NLT says, for all that is secret will eventually be brought into the open, and everything that is concealed will be brought to light and made known to all, right? And the Lord told Daniel, all right, to basically seal up the book because at the time in the end, many shall run to and fro and knowledge would increase. And that ultimately starts with the whole full elect, all right? And the prophets, starting with 144,000. Via this truth, wisdom, knowledge, understanding, we've been able to expose Esau, starting with the apostles on down, all right, and all his works, all right, evil practices, all right, from generation to generation. And this is why the scriptures say, for he knoweth he had a short time. All right, one of the major ways he knows this devil knows he has a short time is because he sees the prophets prophesying about his downfall, bringing out information on things that he's kept hidden, even if it was hidden in plain sight, it was still hidden. All right, the masses of people, or the masses, their minds weren't woken up. All right, but the Lord, all right, also said he'll pour out his flesh upon, um, pour his spirit upon all flesh. Okay, so we're, before the Lord completely does away with this wicked society, all right, and Babylon the Great, aka America, he's going to expose it for all its wickedness. Okay, and that starts at Esau, Edom, all right, this self-proclaimed so-called white man. Okay, but his biblical nationality is that of Esau, Edom. So let me get that in Daniel real quick, and I got this clip I'm going to play going to nanotechnology. And you should know by now how nanotechnology, and if you're not, I mean, hopefully you get that edification from this video, but how nanotechnology, all right, is linked with the MOTB, the mark of the beast, which is an RFID chip. Okay, so it says here in Daniel chapter 12, verse it's Daniel 12 and 4, right? So it says, but thou, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book even to the time of the end, which is now. Okay. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased. Okay. NLT says, but you, Daniel, keep this prophecy a secret. Seal up the book until the time of the end, when many will rush here and there, and knowledge will increase. Okay. And another scripture in Psalms talks about how their own tongues will fall upon themselves, right? The third witness. Okay, so let's get this clip now. All right, so this clip, and it's called Nanotechnology. So that's why I entitled my lesson Nanotechnology. Um, So fair use, fair use, fair use. All right. I'm not receiving any monetization. All right. For this video, I'm only sharing this video for educational purposes only. All right. So fair use, fair use, fair use. Let me just slow down the speed here. All right.
Technology. They've identified it as something they can compute.
So, Dr. Maynard, what is nanotechnology?
Well, I think to explain nanotechnology, you need to understand two things. First is that nanotechnology is dealing with things which are incredibly small.
And a human hair is 100,000 nanometers thick.
Now, the second thing I think you need to understand about nanotechnology is that it's a way of controlling matter to make it do what we want it to do.
Why nanotechnology is important is because at that scale, interesting and novel properties emerge when you manipulate different kinds of materials.
Researchers say building things atom by atom or molecule by molecule will revolutionize the production of virtually every human-made object.
Yeah, real quick before they continue, I want to bring this out from chat concerning nanotechnology, real quick. In terms of the scaling, okay? Some of you might already know this, but nevertheless, so it says here in chat, particle size scale, biggest to smallest. Here's the ladder, rug by rug. Okay, so it says macroscopic, okay, macroscopic, visible to the eye, hair, dust clumps, sand, 1 millimeter and up, okay? And then you have micro scale, okay? Micro scale says visible with light microscope, visible with light microscope. So cells 10 to 100 nanometers or micrometers. Bacteria, right, 1 to 5 micrometers. And it says red blood cells, 7 to 8 micrometers. And then you go lower, when you go even smaller, right? It says submicron. So submicron is what? Too small for light microscope, small bacteria. So this is too small for a light microscope. So they have technology to see even further in, right? So it says, which we already know that's small bacteria, large viruses, pollution particles, right? And that's 100 to 1,000 nanometers, okay? And then now you go even smaller, nanoscale, right? It says where the buzzword lives, viruses, proteins, engineered nanoparticles, cell membrane structures, because these things pass through the cell membrane. All right, 1 to 100 nanometers. This is the molecular frontier. And then you go even smaller. All right, it says molecular scale, the molecular scale. Protein, DNA strands, enzymes, 1 to 10 nanometer. Now you're in chemistry territory. Okay, so you go even smaller, you go atomic scale, individual atoms, ions, 0.1 nanometers. And they showed us this in that movie Ant-Man, right? Where he went so small that I think he went subatomic, which is the next scale here, right? It says electrons, protons, and quarks smaller than atoms. Okay, so at this point, you're basically tapping into the spiritual realm, because everything is governed by that. And we know this. But it says, and this is funny what chat said, it says that's physics whispering secrets to itself when you go that small. Because everything is, which I'm going to get later on, but there's a term called cybernetics, right? Which goes into how things operate on their own. And that's what Esau, all right, uh, um, has done and is doing with his technology is searching out the Most High to outdo the Most High and then recreate everything the Most High created in his image, ultimately via what? The mark of the beast, right? is technology. Okay. So yeah, let's continue on with this clip and we'll come back to this.
It's no wonder the tiny domain of atoms and molecules is catching on. It's no wonder the tiny domain of atoms and molecules is catching on.
Initially, when nanotechnology was first sort of coming into the mainstream, so to speak, during the 1990s and the early part of the 2000s, there were a lot of science fiction scenarios that were out.
First, the individual is injected with nanoprobes, microscopic machines which attach themselves to the victim's.
Yeah, which is all predictive programming, okay, through these movies and even through music.
Blood cells and begin to immediately rewrite the victim's DNA.
We created tiny robots called nanites to patrol her body and repair the damage. Sabrina injects herself with 3 species of these synthetic organisms.
The idea really came from somebody named Richard Feynman, who in the late 1950s, he said, wouldn't it be great if we could create synthetic molecular motors, so nano robots, which can use various chemicals in our bodies to generate energy and therefore can...
And, you know, you have to understand, Slock, bear with me, Slock. Yeah. Okay. Amazing. I really appreciate it. All right, Slocky. I had a call that interrupted. Um, so I forgot what I was saying. Fucking Satan. Exactly what I was. Oh, what I was going to mention real quick is that when you go into these scientists, engineers, and technocrats and all their inventions, they get on a high level drugs, right, to contact with the spiritual realm. Okay, and the demons, all right, on high levels, right, starting with Satan himself, gives them these ideas. Okay, just like the Holy Spirit works with us, the angels work with us via the Holy Spirit, which is the angels, and Yahweh Shai is the same thing on the left hand side for Esau Edom and his stooges, minions, and prognosticators, and engineers, and scientists, and all that. Okay.
robots, which can use various chemicals in our bodies to generate energy and therefore can traverse the body looking for diseases. Since they generate their own energy, could then fight those diseases if we're able to program them correctly. So you would essentially have these entities in your body that would treat any kind of disease that would ever happen.
There are, in fact, a number of nanotechnology consumer products that are already on the market that use various kinds of simple nano materials. Wilson has a series of tennis rackets that use nano-engineered materials, the khaki pants that are stain resistant from Gap and Eddie Bauer, in addition to a number of nano-engineered coatings that are used to make materials antibacterial and germ-free.
We've already seen some incredible things that nanotechnology might allow us to do, but we've also got to think about what the dangers might be because this is such a new technology.
Israel is trying to create a robot no bigger than a hornet that will be able to chase, photograph, and even kill its targets. An Israeli newspaper reports the bionic hornet is being developed to fight terrorists. The flying robot will be based on nanotechnology. It will be able to navigate narrow alleyways to target rocket launchers.
Nanomaterials are harder than conventional materials, in particular metals. So certainly,
And this is years ago, like years ago. So you can only imagine what they got now. Okay, so yeah, 18, almost 20 years ago. So you can only imagine what they got now. And this is 20 years ago that this was brought out, but when they were actually going through this, is further even back. So yeah, we're gonna get spiritual powers on this side. How else is we're of that number of the whole full act because we're gonna need it. Looking at this man's technology and what he's getting ready to unleash. Okay.
Have more destructive weapon than conventional materials, in particular metals. So certainly you'd have more destructive weapons that could be built.
The nano-enhanced super soldier possesses abilities and tools unsurpassed by any military technology in the world. Anticipatory projectile deceleration predicts and protects against a variety of gunfire. Spasmodically stabilizers snap fractured bones back into place, forming an instant path around the injury.
Nano materials are completely natural. Mother Nature makes them in the ground, and we have them in us. So in that light, we think we're
Yeah, so this guy snapped his arm, but the nanoparticles put his arm back into place right there. And then
making natural tissues better than these micron structures. We don't really have micron grain sizes in our body or micron particles. They're all nano. After our initial experiments in which we put nanomaterials in bone, so we would make this titanium implant out of same chemistry that's being implanted today, only it would have nano components. And we would see bone growth occur in rats, for example, 4 times faster. And the versatility of this seems to be quite exciting. For stroke, we took stem cells and carbon nanotubes. We put them in rats, which were induced to have stroke. We allowed the rats to walk on treadmills. And we saw that they were able to walk after 1 week with carbon nanotubes and stem cells. With just the stem cells alone, it took 3 weeks.
One of the things that make nano.
okay. All right, so let's get a precept here. This is Psalm 64 and 5. Okay, so Psalm 64 and 5, it reads, they encourage, in the King James, they encourage themselves in an evil matter. Okay, it's science, pseudoscience, technology, and its global plan, all right, for world domination via the RFID Egypt, which is the mark of the beast. Okay, they commune of laying snares privily. They say, who shall see them? They search, and this is one of the main points I want to get out. It says they search out iniquities. Okay, they accomplish a diligent search, both the inward thought of every one of them and the heart is deep. Okay, NLT, it says, I'll start from 5. They encourage each other to do evil and plan how to set their traps in secret. Who will ever notice, they ask. And this is why, again, they're coming down with great wrath because they spent a lot of energy, time, and money, really, in keeping what they do a secret, even when it was in plain sight. But starting with the prophets on down, okay, we've been exposing this devil, man. Okay, and so he knows through that he has a short time. Okay, Yahweh Shai is coming back. In verse 6, it says, as they plot their crimes, they say, we have devised the perfect plan. Yes, the human heart and mind are cunning. Okay, so the scriptures also say thou art wiser than Daniel, right? And Daniel back then, not Daniel now. And you can see why. Okay. I want to mention a point here in Psalm 64 and 6 where it says, or Psalm 64 and 6, where it says, they search out iniquities. And this goes into them, understanding all the different ancient religions of all the different ancient empires before them, right? And the knowledge that they use to tap into the spiritual realm. These devils and their engineers and technocrats, right? From the topically on down, they have all this and they use it, right? And they try to advance it. And they have been able to advance it, really. Okay. But a part of searching out iniquities is also looking into the Most High's creation, all right, and thinking, how can I do this better? That's iniquity. And it says iniquities because they do it in everything, right? You have seeds, you have fruits full of seeds, and Esau's like, let me give you fruits without seeds because the seeds are so-called hassle. People can choke on them and this, that, and the third, and whatever nonsense he comes up with. Okay? So I'll read 6 again. I'm going to read down. I got something in the chat here. So it says, they search out iniquities. They accomplish a diligent search, both the inward thought of every one of them and the heart is deep. But Yahweh, Bashim Yahshai, shall, and it is deep. All right, is these devils are deep, all right, but they're deeply left. Okay, they're gone. You know, they're only gonna go so far. They're only gonna go so far. The Lord said that He has set up their bounds that they can't pass. Okay, but because of His pride, He's gonna continue to try to. So anyhow, it says verse 7, but Yahweh Bashim El shall shoot at them with an arrow. Suddenly shall they be wounded. Okay, and when I looked up this word arrow, right, and the Hebrew word there, bear with me 1 second. Yeah, so it's chatazah, chatazah, okay, chatazah, and arrow, right? Oh yeah, let's go to the etymology. The etymology is ha'ai tazah, ha'ai tazah, okay, and it says what? To divide. Okay, so the Lord's gonna, when He says He's gonna shoot down arrows on them, He's gonna cause division, right? It says to divide, 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 to be cut off, be finished. Okay, so going back, it says, but Yahweh, Bashim El Shai, shall shoot at them with an arrow, right? Division. This is why, they're divided among themselves. Okay. Um, and the scriptures also talk about how He's wearied in the multitude of His counsels. Okay. So this division in the house of Esau. This is how you know, all right, he's getting ready to go down, or the Lord is getting ready to take him down. So it says, but Yahweh Bashim Mashai shall shoot at them with an arrow, suddenly shall they be wounded, right? And the wound starts with what? Exposure. Okay, they're being exposed, and then they're going to be destroyed after slavery. It says, so they shall make their own tongue to fall upon themselves, all that see him shall flee away. Yeah. Okay, how their own tongue's gonna fall upon themselves, right? You can have other Edomites, because right now it's like Amalek versus other Edomites, and Amalek and Esau versus Jacob, even though Amalek is the Edomite. But them Amalekites, man, they're different kind of Edomites. Anyways, it says verse 9, and all men shall fear and shall declare the work of Yahweh, for they shall wisely consider His doings. Yeah, so when Yahweh Bashim El Shai, okay, take out Esau, people are gonna look at Esau like he ain't shit, but they're gonna glorify the name of the Heavenly Father and His Son. Okay. Verse 8 in NLT, it says, their own tongue will ruin them, and all who see them will shake their heads in scorn. Okay. And that's what you see happening right now. Why? Because He's being exposed. So everybody's looking at this, really the tight hatters, okay, looking at them, and they're scorning. Okay. It says, because that charm, all right, that wine, people are sobering up spiritually. It says, then everyone, verse 9, will be afraid. They will proclaim the mighty acts of Yahweh Bashim El Shai and realize all the amazing things He does. Yeah. Okay. So now in chat, pulled up some insight on Psalm 64 and 6, where it says they search out iniquities and accomplish a diligent search, both the inward thought of every one of them and the heart is deep. Okay, so it says the deep search of the wicked, Psalm 64 and 6. This verse isn't about curiosity, it's about obsession. not the farmer studying soil, not the craftsman learning his trade. This is men digging where they shouldn't dig. The Hebrew idea behind diligent search is intense probing, excavating secrets. Yeah. And I remember Apostle Gabar talking about a book that Apostle Hart showed him about all the different excavation sites that Esau has went to, mainly over there in the Levant, Middle East. And I remember he mentioned how it looked like Swiss cheese, and it was true. When he showed up the picture, all these different sites where he's digged up relics and found different what's it called? What do you call those things? Steles, right? So on and so forth, right? So it says the Hebrew idea behind diligent search is intense probing, excavating secrets, mining curation itself, trying to peel back the veil Yahweh set in place. You see? And that fits the modern global elite like a glove dipped in silicone. Okay, so it says engineers, scientists, and the new Tower of Babel. Today's elites don't build towers of brick. They build them with data, code, DNA, particles, right? Hence nanoparticles and algorithms. Okay, and it all ties in with AI, artificial intelligence. This is going to be the new way of governing life through artificial means, pseudoscience, false knowledge, right? Artificial intelligence, the same thing. Their questions are no longer how does Yahweh, Bahashim Shai creation work, but rather, I'm gonna read this verbatim, right? It says, how does their questions are no longer how does God's creation work, but rather how can we improve it? You see, how can we rewrite it, right? How can we become the designers? And it's funny because this is his way, all right, of trying to get back his birthright. Okay, because going to the birthright that he gave away basically to Jacob, when you look at Genesis 1, right, and you go into that word God, it's really Allahayim, which is plural in the Hebrew. So the powers. So Yahweh Shai and the 144,000 created everything. Esau's trying to mimic that on the left-hand side. He's trying to be the creator and the designer. Okay? This is why he's searching out the Most High's creation to see how the Most High does it. It says, that's Psalm 64. Uh-oh. Oh, geez, Satan. I was gonna fuck with my shit. Damn. You can't move my mouse. Just bear with me 1 second, man. For some reason, my mouth is not doing what I want it to do. Satan doesn't like that I'm doing this lesson clearly. Or Esau Edom. Oh, the water how about Shemel Shai. Just sent up a quick prayer too. All right. So it says that's Psalm 64 and 6. Alive and breathing. They search the brain to override thought. Okay. But what does Esau tell the world? Okay. He tells the world that that he's searching the brain, all right, to better people's psychology. Okay. Everything is under the guise of making you better, world peace, so on and so forth. But it's all a lie. Okay. So they search the brain to override thought, the body to edit flesh, nature to mimic life, history to rewrite truth. See, creation to counterfeit the creator, deep hearts, deep plots, deep pride. Okay, same spirit, new lab coats. Yep, sometimes chat's corny. It says, not discovery, competition. This is key. This is the key. They are not studying creation to glorify the Lord. They are studying it to revile him. Yeah, to revile him. Give me a second here. Person or thing competing, yeah. To rival him. Slack it. Got a brain fart there. Yeah, so it says they are not studying they are not studying creation to glorify the Lord. They are studying it to rival him, just like ye shall be as gods, right? Genesis 3 and 5. Well, that's what he's trying to become. Okay. He's trying to become a god in a sense of living forever. Okay. Hence, trying to fight back or get back his birthright, which he'll never do. You'll never be able to do that, Esau. You're finished. Okay. You're finished. Modern science at the top levels isn't chasing medicine anymore. It's chasing mastery, immortality, synthetic life, artificial intelligence, human enhancement or enchantment, digital consciousness, old sins, new paint, a serpent with a PhD. Okay. And final word here. It says the global elite think they are unlocking the universe. In truth, they are reenacting the oldest rebellion ever staged. Okay? They are in truth, they are reenacting the oldest rebellion ever staged. Creation cannot outgrow its creator. Clay cannot outthink the potter. And and the search that begins in pride always ends in exposure and should add destruction. Because what comes before destruction is pride. Pride comes before a fall. And this man is falling because of his pride. Okay? And it says the Lord hasn't been outdone, only challenged by dust that learned how to type. That's right. Okay, so let's go to 2 Thessalonians 2 and 5. I'm gonna get this in, yeah, I'll get it in King James. It says, remember ye not that when I was yet with you, I told you these things, and now ye know what withholdeth, that he might be revealed in his time. That's Esau Edom, all right, the wicked. He's being revealed in his time. And the Lord withholded that back as to who he is and all this, that, and the third, and what he's about, okay, until now. The Most High has always been in control. It says, for the mystery of iniquity doeth already work, right? The mystery of iniquity is who is he, right? But now he's not a mystery anymore, okay? Only he who now letteth will let, which is the Most High, until, so he's letting him rule, all right? Going back to the Renaissance, Roman Renaissance up until now, okay? Which is barely half a day, okay? It says, letteth now, only he who now letteth will let until he be taken out of the way. Okay? And he's getting ready to be taken out of the way right now. And then shall that wicked, all right, be revealed, whom the Lord Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, i.e., the prophets. Okay? And the third witnesses. But really the prophets. Okay, starting with the prophets, it says, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. You see, so first comes the exposure, okay, as we're witnesses with a testimony and attest the spirit of uh, 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 the spirit of prophecy. Damn, I'm butchering. Let me get it real quick. Oh, the testimony of Yahweh Shai is the spirit of prophecy. There you go. I'll just get it real quick since I got it anyways. All right, so Revelation 12 and 12. Oh, no. It's Revelation 19. This is Revelation. Yeah. Okay, yeah, Revelation 19:10. Slacker. Almost forgot where it was. Revelation 19:10. And I fell at his feet to worship him and said unto him, See thou do it not. I am thy fellow servant and of thy brethren that have the testimony of Yahweh Shai. Worship Yahweh Bashim Shai, for the testimony of Yahweh Shai is the spirit of prophecy, right? All right, so going back, right, he's being consumed by the spirit of prophecy right now, which is the testimony. It says, and 2 Thessalonians 2 and 8, King James, and then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord Yahweh Bashim Shai shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. Yeah, with the host of heaven. All right, when he will crack open them clouds with the host of heaven, chariots, okay, to destroy him and take him down. Verse 9, even him whose coming is after the working of Satan, which what does the word Satan means? It means adversary. Adversary, okay? Adversary. It says of Satan with all power and signs and lying wonders, okay? And with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth, that they might be saved. Okay, NLT says, This man will come to do the work of Satan with counterfeit power and signs and miracles, i.e., his pseudoscience, all right, artificial intelligence, okay, his technology. It's all counterfeit. Okay, it says, but it's going to woo the whole world, but the whole full elect. Okay, as it says, he will use every kind of evil deception, predictive programming, so on and so forth, Hegelian dialectic, problem reaction solution, or order out of chaos, so on and so forth. He will use every kind of evil deception to fool those on their way to destruction. So people that get caught up with this technology of Satan, all right, of Esau, Edom, are on their way to destruction. Okay, because they're going to take the chip. All right. It says because this nanotechnology is going to be able to heal and heal sicknesses, repair bones, repair cells, ligaments, everything. So people are going to be wooed by that, not knowing that if you take that chip, all right, you are going to deal with the wrath of Yahweh Bashim El Shai, and nothing can save you from that. So is it really worth it? Okay. As it says, because they refused I'll read that again. It says, He will use every kind of evil deception to fool those on their way to destruction because they refuse to love and accept the truth that would save them. Yeah, you Jakes. Okay, you Israelites. Verse 11, so Yahweh will cause them to be greatly deceived, and they will believe these lies. Then they will be condemned, right? Because they'll take the chip. So then they'll be condemned for enjoying evil, all right? Rather than believing the truth, which was what? Anybody who takes the chip will be destroyed by Yahweh Shem El Shai. You didn't believe it? So guess what? You ran and took the chip, and now you're gonna live out what you didn't believe. Isn't that ironic? Now let's get this word Satan real quick. We don't, but for educational purposes. All right. So the word there in Greek.
Strong's G 4567, Satanas. Satanas.
Okay,
Thayer's
so
lexicon,
Jesus.
Satan. Satan.
Okay. It says adversary, right? One who opposes another in purpose or act. It says the name given to the prince of evil spirits, the inveterate adversary of Yahweh and Yahweh Shai. And really, Satan works with the Most High. Okay. And he's under Yahweh Shai. Okay. So he's just set up to be he's set up, all right, to set up Esau to be adverse to everything that the Most High created. Okay. Let's see. Demons and is able to take possession of men and afflict. Yeah, that's crazy. It says, by his demons, he is able to take possession of men and inflict them with diseases. Damn. That's how you know, man. When you're sick, that's a demon. Turn to heaven and bound and chains and that, whatever. Oh, yeah. This is what I wanted to get. It says here, it says, circumventing men by his wiles. So that's what he's going to do. Okay, he's going to circumvent men, everybody but the whole full act, by his wiles, i.e., his technology. Okay? You talk about feminine wiles. Well, you got Satan, you got devilish wiles, which is the same thing as feminine wiles. Okay. Okay, so let's get this next precept here. All right, so this is Isaiah 54:16. Let's read down to 17. It says, behold, I have created a smith that bloweth the coals in the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work. Right? It's talking about the ICBM missiles, hypersonic missiles, weaponry for World War, right? In particular, World War III. These scientists, engineers, all right, and so on and so forth. Okay, it says, and chemists is what I want to say, and chemist. Okay, it says, and I have created the waster to destroy. Okay, but I'm reading from this point because, of course, the missiles, the wasters are the missiles, ICBM missiles, hypersonic missiles, but these engineers and scientists and chemists work on other things to destroy as well too. First and foremost, it's the missiles, but you have other things as well, like this. They mentioned in the video about how those people over there in the land, okay, are working on using bumblebees, all right, built with nanoparticles, nanotechnology to navigate rocket launchers, man. Okay, the man has a heart attack gun. He has all kinds of different things. Okay, so this is the point, though. This says nano, or sorry, nano. No weapon that is formed against thee shall prosper, and every tongue that shall rise against thee in judgment thou shalt condemn. This is the heritage of the servants of the Lord Yahweh, and their righteousness is of me, saith the Lord Yahweh. NLT says, but in that coming day, right? No weapon, which is the day we're approaching, the height of Jacob's trouble, no weapon turned against you will succeed. So it doesn't matter what kind of technology this devil has. Like he has technology that can heal bones the instant they break. So these super soldiers can keep going. It's not going to work against spiritual power. That's what the Lord said. But in that day, no weapon turned against you will succeed. You will silence every voice raise up to accuse you, These benefits are enjoyed by the servants of the Lord Yahweh. Their vindication will come from me. I, the Lord Yahweh, have spoken. Right? So let's finish up this clip, and then I bring out two more precepts. That'll be it.
Carbon nanotubes and stem cells. With just the stem cells alone, it took 3 weeks.
One of the things that make nanomaterials so exciting is that they're small, they have different structures to get into different parts of the body, which is great if you're trying to deliver a cancer therapeutic directly to a specific cell. Unfortunately, that property may not be so great if you're trying to keep a nanomaterial, for example, on the skin using a sunscreen, and it begins to translocate through the body.
One of the big things that come up that we have to address, we should have addressed it 5 years ago, is toxicity. And really manufacturing nanomaterials, how safe is it? There are really very few.
The devil always does this shit. That's how you know he's a mad scientist. He'll boast to the clouds of what he's doing, how great of invention it is, and the research and the possibilities. And then he'll slide in, well, with all this being said, we don't know how bad it can get. It can get bad. It can become this. It can do that. Like, motherfucker, why are you creating it then? See, everything the Lord does is absolute. There's no what ifs. There's no this, but that's just because these devils really know what they're doing, right? When you go deeper, really and truly, at the top, right, the top wicked elite, they want to bring about chaos and destruction, all right, to the world and America. They want to. The Lord has put that in their hearts as well. But when the Lord really takes control, well, I don't want to say takes control because he's always in control. But when the Lord turns up, all right, the faucet in terms of prophecy, they're going to be shaking at their boots, man. Shaking at their souls when they see it. Okay, even though that was their plan in their mind, they're going to be shaking at their souls, man, when they truly see it. All right. So, anyways, that's he's a mad scientist. But yeah, they want this destruction to come. That's why they show you movies predictively programming you about well, they say post-apocalyptic, but about invasions, so-called alien invasions, or iRobot, where robots turn on artificial intelligence turns on man, and this that, and the third. That's what they want. This is why they show you movies like this, because they want to bring that about. Order out of chaos. Okay? But the order that's going to be established out of this chaos coming is the kingdom of heaven. Okay? Not what they got going on.
Safety standards we can fall back on what to do.
The community needs to recognize that and get together like we did with genetic engineering and say, hey, you know what? We need to sit down and start thinking ahead.
This is a problem that's not specific to nanotechnology. It's a problem that's specific to any kind of emerging technology, where in many cases the innovation rapidly precedes the oversight system.
Unlike any greater federation that they
Prince Charles said nanotechnology is going to create a green goo across the world. And I think his message was, we don't know what all these nanoparticles are going to do.
Cybernetic creatures from the future who tried to stop his warp flight, their ultimate goal being to enslave the human race.
And they're really talking about, Yahweh Shai and the whole elect and the angels, right? But real quick, let me bring this out in terms of cybernetics and what it is. Since you're in chat, what cybernetics actually is. Cybernetics comes from the Greek word kinetis, whatever. A steerman, a man at the helm, control, direction. It says cybernetics is the study of control and communication between humans, machines, animals, systems. It asks one old question dressed in modern mirror. How do things govern themselves? See, that's what he's trying to find out and override. And this is basically where he got the idea for artificial intelligence, right? Everything on the left is counterfeit of the right. Okay? Everything is governed by the Most High, but it looks like it governs itself. But that's the operation. That's the operation that the Most High set in. I think like the sun and the moon, what they do by themselves. The Most High, well, through the whole full act, really, the 144 put that operation there for it. Anyhow, so it says it deals with feedback loops, inputs and outputs, self-correction, regulation. Your thermostat is cybernetics. Your nervous system is cybernetics, you see? And, not 5G, but 6G is supposed to mimic the nervous system. It has to work in real time. Okay. It says a missile guidance system is cybernetics, right? And it says where the fear comes from, here's where the fog rolls in. When cybernetics mixes with artificial intelligence, neural interface, implants, okay? So when you get implanted with a chip, you are no longer you. There's a whole nother system called cybernetics working at the helm of Esau Edom. Well, he's at the helm of it, okay? Not you anymore. It says automation of decision making. People start whispering. This doesn't feel human anymore. And that's right, because cybernetics reduces life into systems. All right, anyways, so let's finish the video, and I got 2 more precepts.
Exciting prospects, but they also point out the promise of nanotechnology can only be realized if we
Yeah, and I'm not going to play the sound for this, but he says we can only realize cybernetics and if you look at the video, he's starting from a very, 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 very small position, and he's coming out. Yeah, DNA. Boom, 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 and boom. It's the fucking Simpsons. Anyways, well, it's a little funny. Okay, so this is Wisdom of Solomon 13, and I'll start at 1 in the GNT. It says, anyone who does not know Yahweh, Bashim El Shai, is simply foolish. Such people look at the good things around them and still fail to see the living power, right? And he's in the case of Esau Edom, he knows, all right, that the Most High is real. With all his research and deep knowledge, he knows the Most High is real. But for him, it's about outdoing the Most High. Okay, it goes further than not seeing the Most High. He sees them, but he wants to outdo the Most High. They have studied the things he made, but they have not recognized the one who made them. You see? Instead, they suppose that the gods who rule the world are fire or water or storm or the circling stars or the rushing water or the heavenly bodies. People were so delighted with the beauty of these things, that they thought they must be gods. But they should have realized that these things have a master, and that he is much greater than all of them, for he is the creator of beauty and he created them. Since people are amazed at the power of these things, how they behave, they ought to learn from them that their maker is far more powerful. It says, when we realize how vast and beautiful the creation is, we are learning about the creator at the same time. You see? And Esau, okay, he has all the technology in the world and money and the resources to do so. So you can't tell me that he doesn't know the Most High exists. He knows, but he's against the Most High. That's how he's created. Okay? But maybe we are too harsh with these people. Hell no. After all, they may have really wanted to find Yahweh, Bashim Yahshai, but couldn't, which is true, because the Most High and his Son have to reveal themselves to you. Okay? Verse 7, surrounded by Yahweh's work, Yahweh Bashim Yahshai's works, they keep on looking at them, right? Until they are finally convinced that because the things they see are so beautiful, they must be gods. Okay, going into the worshiping of the sun and all that, right? And Esau Edom has done a diligent search out the iniquities of these ancient empires and their science and their knowledge, right? And he's taken to the next level. Okay, so it says, but still, these people really have no excuse. If they had enough intelligence to speculate about the nature of the universe, why did they never find the Lord Yahweh, Bashim of all things? But that's But the most miserable people of all are those who rest their hope in lifeless things like technology, like an RFID chip, okay? Who worship things that have been made by human hands, images of animals artistically made from gold and silver or some useless stone carved by someone years ago. And now in 2026, it's technology, AI, right? Artificial intelligence, okay? Cybernetics, nanotechnology. So that's the point here, okay? This is Isaiah 14 and 13. It says, "For thou hast said, in thine heart I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of Yahweh. I will sit also upon the mount," right, "of the congregation in the side of the north," which is over here. Okay, that's America. Right? America is that what do you call it? They're not vassal, but well, America is their vehicle. I'll say the top wicked elites that have used America as a vehicle. That's why when it says I'll sit upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north, over here in North America. Okay, they have the top seat in NATO and EU. Okay, they're the top nation over here, and really in the whole world. Okay, so yeah, I'll ascend into the heavens, right? The satellite systems, right? Space stations. I'll exalt my throne upon the stars, above the stars of the Most High, right? As well, including the Israelites. So it says, I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Okay, that's what he's trying to do. Yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, right? Not to a literal place, but meaning the grave. He's going to be destroyed at the end of it all, after slavery, to the sides of the pit. Okay, and that's America. America will be destroyed as well. They that see thee will narrowly look at thee, upon thee, and consider thee, saying, Is this the man that made the earth tremble, that didst shake kingdoms, that made the world as a wilderness, and destroyed the cities thereof, that opened not the house of the prisoners? Okay, yeah, that's the point. Okay, now I'm gonna go back to hear what I had about Nano. I just want to get something real quick in chat concerning this. Yeah, okay, it says here the big takeaway is that nanoparticles don't imitate life; they borrow its geometry. Its geometry. Okay, so nanoparticles don't imitate life, which they do, right? Because and when it says that they borrow its geometry, right? But these nanoparticles mimic, all right, the function of the different cells, right? Yeah, see, it even tells you, chat here, tells you what they mimic, what they can mimic. Then I'll go back down. Shapes, spheres, rods, surface changes, ability to pass through the membrane, movements through fluids. That's why scientists sometimes design them to behave like HDL cholesterol particles, protein carriers, lipids, cellular vehicles. The body already uses tiny delivery systems. Nanotech didn't invent that. It copied God's blueprint. You see? That's what they did. Back here it says the big takeaway: nanoparticles don't imitate life, but they do, really. They borrow its geometry. Nature already solved transport, protection, and efficiency, meaning the Most High already solved that. Humans just looked close enough, Esau Edom looked close enough to copy the pattern. Same thing Masons did when they learned arches from bones. Same thing sailors did when they learned sails from birds. Exactly. That's why I read Wisdom of Solomon, the 13th chapter. Okay? And the invention of idols. Nothing new under the sun, just smaller tools. Okay? So, yeah. Okay. That's basically it. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so this is my last precept, and I'm gonna close it up. So this is Isaiah 47 and 8. It says, therefore, hear now this, thou that are given to pleasures, right? America, as well as the top wicked elite that are scattered throughout the world, that dwells carelessly, that saith in thine heart, I am, and none else beside me. Did the Most High say that? Okay. I shall not sit as a widow, neither shall I know the loss of children. This is the mindset of, you know, the so-called chief and commander of America, being Donald Trump, all the way down to the average, everyday Babylonian, aka American. They really think America is gonna, you know, stand forever. Okay, well, it's looking very gleam, all right, very bleak. America will not stand for it. America is right around the corner of being destroyed and taken down. And now these people, average everyday Americans, they are starting to see it because the walls are closing in. Prophecy is no longer becoming just prophecy. It's manifesting, okay, into life, real life. Okay, the now. Verse 9, it says, but these two things shall come to thee in a moment, in one day, the loss of children and widowhood, they shall come upon thee in the perfection for the multitude of thy sorceries, right? Technology, miracle, nanotechnology, AI, everything, man, everything. Basically pseudoscience. It says, and for the great abundance of their enchantments, okay? And it really all boils into technology, man, right? Movies, motion picture, all of it. It's a modern day enchantments. It says, for thou hast trusted thy wickedness, for thou hast trusted in thy wickedness, thou hast said, none seeth me. Thy wisdom and thy knowledge it hath perverted thee, and thou hast said, in thine heart I am, and no one else beside me. NLT says, you felt secure in your wickedness. No one sees me, you said, but your wisdom and knowledge have led you astray, and you said, I am the only one, and there is no other. Okay, verse 11, it says, therefore shall evil come upon thee, thou shalt not know from whence it rises, and mischief shall come upon thee, thou shalt not be able to put it off, and desolation shall come upon thee suddenly, which thou shalt not know. Okay, because even though they have all this technology, they're gonna find out the hard way that it doesn't mean shit when the Most High shows up, when Yahushua, okay, shows up, and Yahweh brings, all right, starts to bring them down. Okay. It says, I'll read it in NLT, and I'll finish it off in the NLT. It says, so disaster will overtake you. You won't be able to charm it away. Calamity will fall upon you, and you won't be able to buy your way out. So a collapse is coming. And America can't print their way out of the collapse of the dollar. Really, fiat currency. A catastrophe will strike you suddenly, one for which you are not prepared. Now use your magical charms. Use your spells you have worked at all these years. Maybe they'll do you some good. Maybe they can make someone afraid of you. And the Most High is being facetious, right? All the advice you receive have made you tired, right? That's that arrow, right? Dividing, right? Because when I go back to the King James, it said, I'll finish this up. It says, where are all your astrologers, those stargazers who make predictions each month? Let them stand up, save you from what the future holds, right? It says in the King James, thou art wearied in the multitude of thy counsels. Let now the astrologers, stargazers, monthly prognosticators stand up. and save thee from these things that shall come upon thee. There's scientists, futurists, psychologists, all of them, okay? All these guys, fucking warlocks and demons. Behold, they shall be as stubble. The fire shall burn them. They shall not deliver themselves from him. Okay, they shall not deliver. They shall not deliver themselves from the power of the flame. Okay, they shall not be. There shall not be a coal to warm at no fire to sit before it. So basically, when the Lord brings his destruction, okay, there's gonna be no comfort in this man's wickedness and his so-called knowledge or so-called wisdom, which is really not wisdom, it's knowledge. All right, true wisdom has the fear of the Lord applied to it. This man does not fear the Lord. That's why the scripture says the knowledge of wickedness is not wisdom. Okay, NLT it says, but they are like straw burning in a fire; they cannot save themselves from the flame. You will get no help from them at all. Their hearth is no place to sit for warmth. That's right. So yeah, there's no comfort with this man's technology. All right. It's only gonna be, even if he is able to fix things and heal people, it's just for a moment. Okay. True healing comes from Yahweh Shem Shai via following his laws and keeping his law, statutes, and commandments. That's really what's going to restore, all right, life itself. All right. The righteous, the hopeful elect, all right, being in rulership and administering the laws and statutes and commandments of Yahweh Shem Shai throughout the four corners of the earth. All right. So, anyways, that's it on this lesson. Lord willing, is straightforward and edifying to the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel. I'm going to close by giving all praises and honor and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Ruach HaKadosh. Let the honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone rule well and have taught me this word in truth and sincerity. All right. Peace and mercy to the hopeful elect, starting with 144,000 on down. Babu Bal, Kwame Sha'ala, and Shalom to the hopeful elect.